How are we doing today, everybody? And welcome back to another edition of Cubs Daily. My name is Steven Ryan. The Cubs travel to New York for a good test against the Mets, a 3-game set over the weekend. We're going to talk about that. The Cubs have some big news in terms of the big-time pitching prospect Cade Horton making his debut. And we'll talk a little more about Dansby's hot hitting streak ever since he was demoted to 8th spot in the lineup. But before we get into all that, just want to thank everyone who's liked the videos, who's commented, and who has subscribed to the channel. You guys are the absolute best. I continue to appreciate your support throughout the times on this channel, and let's keep that momentum rolling. My question for you is, what are you expecting of Cade Horton? Do you expect to see him this weekend, or do you think he's going to start at Wrigley early next week? We're going to get into that here in a moment. But again, thank you for all of your continued support. So let's hop into it, ladies and gentlemen. We talked about it earlier, and I was like, hey, I don't think the Cubs are necessarily going to rush Cade Horton up. I don't think they were going to, do anything pressing. They brought up Hollowell for Shota earlier this week when they put Shota on the 15-day IL. And so, but now the Cubs do feel like it is time for Cade Horton. Now, I'm not myself familiar with his deal. Do you remember what in 2015 when the Cubs called up Chris Bryant? They didn't want to call up until a certain date so that they get an extra year of control. I don't think that was the case necessarily for Cade Horton in this situation because there's only like a 3 or 4 day difference. But either way, it is Cade Horton time here in Chicago. Now, according to Mr. Kaplan, David Kaplan, he is a big-time Chicago personality around here. He said that we expect to see him Saturday during the Fox game of the week. Now, I kind of like this for Cade Horton. If that is truly the case, he's going up against a real test. The Mets are a very legit team. Now, the Mets have faced a lot of teams with a losing record, but when you're a good team, you need to beat those teams. And that's what the Mets have done. They have a very similar record to the Cubs, and they're battling for that NL East crown. I'm excited to watch Cade Horton pitch. I'm excited to see what he's got, but I've got no expectations personally. I could totally see him giving up 6 runs in 2 innings, but I can also see him going five innings and giving up 1 run and with 6 strikeouts or something like that. Again, drafted 7th in 2022, Cade Horton has only pitched just a hair under 200 innings, maybe a little bit more now since his last start, but he has been dominant at every single level. I believe he went to Oklahoma University, and he was a two-way player there. He was a pitcher and a third baseman, but the Cubs saw him fit as a pitcher, and this is the test, right? Again, I've been preaching on this channel for months now. I think the Cubs need an ace starting level pitcher. Now, I would love to go out and trade for one, like a known commodity, but Cade Horton could be really it, right? Maybe he comes in and he dominates Major League batting. I don't know, but that's why I'm excited to watch. That's why I'm excited to see him go up against a real test with the Mets, who have the likes of Lindor, Alonso, Soto, etc., etc. The Mets are a quality team. They were in the NLCS last year, and I hope Mr. Cade Horton can come out and show him he's got the good stuff to take care of the Mets. But again, I'm not going to overreact to one start either. If he has a bad start, that's okay. Major League Baseball is a lot different than a lot of different levels of baseball. I will say that very much. Even though I've had no personal Major League experience, I just know making it to the show is a lot different than any other level of baseball anyone's ever played. So, excited to watch Mr. Cade Horton pitch on Saturday. That's literally tomorrow. It's going to be a good one, and this is going to be a good series against the Mets. So, before we get into the preview of the Mets, let's talk about our main man, Dansby Swanson. So, since, I believe, late last month, we demoted him to 8th in the lineup, and he has been on fire. He had at least an 8-game hitting streak and is hitting well above 300. His batting average has jumped more than 40 points, and he is becoming a stabilizing force at the bottom of the lineup for this Cubs team, which, again, when you look at the totality of the lineup and you're like, wow, Dansby Swanson's hitting 8th, you know you have an absolutely fantastic lineup. So, Dansby's bat coming around, and we know what he brings with his defense. Dansby is truly, truly, truly a leader of this team. Again, his numbers at the end of the year might not lead you to believe that, he's a superstar of the highest order or anything like that. But Dansby is really, really good for this team. So, when I made that video a few weeks ago about Dansby's hitting, his struggling, his WAR was 0. Okay, his WAR was 0 because his defense was so good that it evened out, right? His offense was not that good, so it was 0. But now his WAR is 1.1. He's got 7 home runs. He's hitting 236, which is close to his career average of 251. And he's starting to figure it out. He's also seeing some different pitches. Probably never batted 8th in his life. But again, you're going to start to see a lot of different pitches at that position. And that truly, truly does help this Cubs team get to rolling to the next level. So, let's talk about the Mets series coming up. This is a big litmus test for the Cubs, right? I know towards the end of the month, we're going to get the Rockies, the Marlins, and the Sox. And those games might not tell us as much as what it's going to be like against this Mets team. But again, I revert back to 2015. The Cubs were 7-0 against the Mets in 2015. Cubs got swept in the NLCS. This series does mean something, but it also doesn't mean anything at the same time, which is crazy to think about because this Mets pitching staff is really, really good, and obviously their lineup is absolutely loaded. So it's going to be a good series regardless. It's going to be Tyone, and then I believe they're going to start Cade Horton. They haven't officially announced it yet, but I believe they're going to start Cade Horton Saturday. And then on Sunday, it's going to be Mr. Boyd, who has been unbelievable. And for the Mets, it's going to be Clay Holmes, who has a 2.95 ERA, McGill, 2.50, and Canning, 2.50. So the Mets pitching staff has been absolutely stellar for them, and the Cubs have a real test on their hands this series. But Game 1 is tonight, 7:40 Eastern. We got Tyone on the bump against Clay Holmes. Clay was on the Yankees last year, I believe. I believe he was more of a reliever for them, and the Mets signed him as a starter, and he has been spectacular for this Mets team. Now, again, what quality of competition has Clay Holmes faced? That is a great question, right? I'm not sure if he's faced all the best teams in the world, but that's why tonight's a really good test, especially for this Cubs team. How good can we do against really, really good starting pitching? These are the questions that we need answers to. And again, I think every at-bat that a player has against a pitcher just helps the batter more and more, right? Again, I revert back to 2016. Corey Kluber was on an absolute heater that World Series. Actually, that postseason. Absolute heater. But the Cubs saw him the third time in Game 7, and that was enough for the Cubs offense to squeak out a Game 7 win. So, the more and more times a batter sees a pitcher, the better the batter has a chance down the road. So, again, seeing these guys totally helps. But, again, I do want to caution and remind everybody, May baseball, September and October baseball are going to be completely different games. But I do think the Cubs can win 2 or 3 here. That's why I like the matchups today. And I think the Mets are in for a bit of a test against this patient Cubs lineup. Again, right, we were so hot that first month. This last week, the offense has kind of cooled a little bit. But I think we'll revert back to norm and get more runs and score more runs for this pitching staff of ours. So, Cubs have 3 really solid pitchers going. Hopefully the bullpen can maintain and hold down the Mets lineup for us to get the series win. So that's going to do it for Cubs Daily today. Again, thank you for all the support over the past few months as we get this channel rocking and rolling. Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back for more. I'll talk to you guys soon.